So the next topic what we have here in the syllabus is forecasting techniques. Um, there are many forecasting techniques, but the syllabus of P1 covers only these three techniques. That is linear regression is one thing. First, we will start with the high-low method, linear regression, time series analysis. These are the techniques which are available. So they are these techniques. If we have to learn them, we have to go through the numerical questions also. So we will also take up the numerical questions in today's class. The first one is high-low method. High-low method is specifically used in case of estimating semi-variable cost or semi-variable overheads. See, we see that cost classification there is no waiting at all. It's open. All of you have joined openly, no? So there is no question of allowing anyone. Manjushri is already there in the class, no? Manjushri is already there, Crystal. This meeting doesn't have those things of putting students on wait. That feature is not added here. Okay. We see one classification of cost based on the behavior can be classified as variable cost, fixed cost, and semi-variable cost. So there are three different types of costs: variable cost, fixed cost, and semi-variable cost. Variable cost is a cost which varies proportionately with the output. So whatever is the level of activity, based on that, the variable cost also can be estimated. Then coming to fixed cost, it remains fixed until it reaches the maximum capacity. So that is also easy to know what would be the fixed cost for the future. Then about the semi-variable cost, it is partly fixed and partly variable. So partly fixed and partly variable, how much would it vary? How much would it be fixed? Estimating that for the future is a difficult task. So in cases where semi-variable costs have to be estimated, we depend on high-low method. The method talks about there is a high level of activity, a low level of activity. Both of them are taken into consideration, and then the costs are estimated. Based on historical records, taking the data from the historical records, take a high volume of activity, then low volume of activity, find out the difference, find out variable cost per unit. Let's check that. How does it work? So there are benefits and problems. After we solve one question, then we'll come back to the benefits and the other things. So let's look into the examination kit. Okay, question number 135 is a suitable question for us to try out this high-low method. So let me select this one and then take it to Excel file and then work it. We will work it out there in the Excel file. Now the question says that XYZ Limited is preparing the production budget for the next period. The total cost of production are a semi-variable cost. The following cost information has been collected in connection with production. Volume and costs are given for two different levels of activity, that is 4,000 units, cost is 29,000, 6,500, cost is 33,000. We are given only two different levels, but otherwise generally we have the past data for many levels. We select a high level, a low level, and then proceed further. But for the first question, let it be a simple one. So if this information is given from the past information, there are two levels selected. One at 4,500 units activity level, the cost is 29,000. Then 6,500 is 33,000. So this is the information what is available to us. Now, based on this information, we are asked to estimate the total production cost for a production volume of 5,750 units, which is nearest to. So let's start. This is question number 135. Now we have to use the high-low method. Units, then cost. So first we present the high activity level and then low activity level. High is 6,500, for which the cost is 33,000. Then low is 4,500, for which the cost is 29,000. Now the difference between these two, find out. So what do we see in this particular data set? The data talks about, so when the activity was 4,500, cost was 29,000. But when the activity moved from 4,500 to 6,500, cost also moved from 29,000 to 33,000. That is what we can observe from this given data. So when does the cost change? Because of the variable component. So if there is any change in the cost, that is all because of the variable component. Because the one part of the cost is fixed. It is a semi-variable cost. So we are given the details about a semi-variable cost. So partly variable, partly fixed. So if the if one part of it is fixed in nature, that fixed cost does not change. All what changes is all about the variable cost. Only the variable cost varies. The fixed component does not vary. So if we see that if the cost from if the units from 4,500 they move to 6,500, for a change of 2,000 units, the cost has changed by 4,000. Okay, so the variable, this is all about variable component. This is variable in nature. So we can find out what is the variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit is equal to, we have it as 4,000 divided by 2,000. So that will be that 2 per unit. So we, from this information we could find out what is variable component. So that is variable cost per unit comes out to be 2 per unit. Then we need to find out what is the fixed cost. fixed cost, select any level. We can select any level. Start with at any level can be selected. I will also show you what impact it will have. At 6,500 units, the total cost is 33,000. From this, less variable cost. Variable cost is 6,500 into cost per unit is 2. So check that how much is it. So from the total cost, a variable cost is deducted. The remaining component is the fixed cost. So fixed cost is equal to 33,000 minus 13,000, which is equal to fixed cost. So that is how we find out what is the fixed cost. Now that we get the variable cost per unit and we know what is the total fixed cost, we will be able to estimate the cost at any other activity level. So the question is asking us to find out what is the total cost at 5,750 units. Okay, now you may be having a doubt that whether it works out with the 4,500 units. So we can also try out at with 4,500 units. At 4,500 units, then we can have the total cost, the variable cost, and all the rest of it also can be calculated. What's the total cost at 4,500? It is 29,000. So the variable cost would be 4,500 into 2. So we get the fixed cost as 20,000. So variable cost is 4,500 into 2, 9,000. So fixed cost. So any level we select, we would arrive at the correct answer for the fixed cost. So it doesn't matter which activity level, because fixed cost basically is fixed in nature. So it doesn't change. So we get the same amount. In examination, you don't have to work out two different activity levels, but any one activity level, if it is selected also, that should be fine and sufficient. After that, we have to estimate the cost of 5,750 units. So estimated cost, we have to first calculate variable cost. Variable cost would be 5,750 into 2. Then mention what's fixed cost. Fixed cost is 20,000. We already got that. So add them up. That's the total cost. One second. 1 second, just a minute. Okay. So you got. Did you understand this? We'll take up another question. Another similar question. Question number 136. The following cost per unit details have been extracted from a production overhead cost budget. Output is given as 6,000, 10,000. Production overhead per unit is given as 3.2 and 3. The budget cost allowance for production overhead for an activity level of 7,350 is. Um, let's quickly do so that we can go to the other problems. Um, See, we have high level at 10,000, at which the cost is the production cost per unit is given, which would be 3 into 10,000. Then the other level is 6,000. Here it is 3.2 into 6,000. So we see the variable component, variable cost per unit, we got it as 2.7. Then select any level. Let's select at 10,000 units. What's the total cost? We got the total cost to be as 30,000. Then the variable cost at 10,000 into the variable cost per unit, we have it as 2.7. Fixed cost is 3,000. So estimated cost per, we have to calculate the cost per 7,350. So just calculate 7,350 into 2.7. Fixed cost, we got it as 3,000. So the total cost at this level is 22,845. Let's select another question. See, what are the advantages and disadvantages of high-low method? The advantages are it is simple, can account for semi-variable costs, helps management better understand cost behavior. Um, See, this can be used in case of estimating the cost for semi-variable cost. So that is the whole issue with the semi-variable cost, because it is not, it is neither fixed nor it is variable in nature. It is partly fixed and partly variable. Therefore, this method comes to help in case of estimating the semi-variable cost. Management will be able to better understand cost behavior. What are the problems with using high-low method? Ignores all results in between. So it is not that, um, in fact, actually, the two questions what we have done, of course, we have selected about one level at a low level, one level at a high level. But then it could also be a question like this. See, 137, if you see that, there are three different levels: 160,000 units, 185,000 units, 190,000 units. So if at all, if we have to use this method, what do? We select the high activity, which is 190,000 at the cost of 2,840,000, low level, which is 160,000, 2,420,000, and the rest of it is the same. What about the one which is there in between? That is completely ignored. So that is the meaning of it. So when we take up the high activity level and the low activity level, we tend to ignore all other activity levels or all other units and the cost of those units in between. Then ignores seasonality, assumes that the past will be a good indicator of the future. So whatever happened in the past, it is assumed that it will continue to happen in the future as well. That is one assumption. Then ignores stepped fixed cost. So um, see, here we're going with the assumption that fixed cost remains fixed; it doesn't change. So that is the assumption with which we are proceeding further. But fixed cost will remain fixed only until it reaches the maximum capacity. See, if let's say this is the maximum capacity, so from zero number of units till the maximum capacity, fixed cost remains same. But what if they exceed beyond the capacity level? If they have to produce more than the maximum capacity level, in such situation we see that the fixed cost also increases. After it increases, it remains the same until the next level. So it remains the same. After they cross that activity level also, then again it rises and then it goes ahead like that. So we see this is one type of fixed cost which increases and remains same. It remains fixed until it reaches the next activity level. So it looks like step fixed cost, but we are going with the assumption that it will always remain fixed. So ignoring the capacity level, what is the maximum capacity level, we are taking into consideration the high activity level, low activity level, and then arriving at what are the various aspects, that is variable cost per unit, total fixed cost, and using it for estimating for any other activity level. But fixed cost also could be a step fixed cost, so that part of it is completely ignored. Then we see assumes that there has been no change to the business system. So that's another assumption which is made. Next one we go with time series analysis. Time series analysis. The data for a period of time, they are taken into consideration, and just a minute. Yes, Hisham, we will definitely do that. Um, there are questions here in the examination kit, so you have gone through that. Very good. So we have questions with the which have inflation, impact of inflation. So in such situation, how do we estimate that? That also we will look into that. So first, let's take up any such question and then come back to this time series analysis um, and take it up. Let me just put one question. question number 140, I think. So let's take this up. Question number 140. The question says the budgeted cost for two levels of output are as shown below. Output is 25,000 units, cost is 143,500. Then if it is 40,000 units, the cost is 194,000. Within the range of output, it is known that the variable cost per unit is constant, but fixed cost rise by 10,000 when output exceeds 35,000 units. So the total fixed cost per budgeted output of 36,000 units are. So here the concept is um, there are two different levels given. So if nothing is mentioned, we just proceed further with what we have done in the previous question. But here it says that, see, when the cost is, when the activity level is at 25,000 units, the cost is given as something. Then when the units reach to 40,000 units, the cost is 194,000. Fine, that is all fine. But um, normally between these two levels, fixed cost should remain the same. But then there is a mention that within this range of output, it is known that the variable cost per unit is constant, but fixed cost. So in between 25 and 40, there is a change in the fixed cost. Fixed cost is increasing by 10,000. So that is happening at 35,000 units level. So at 35,000 units, the cost is increasing. Only the fixed cost. The fixed cost is increasing by 10,000. So the total fixed cost per a budgeted output of 36,000 units are how much? So this is little different from what we have done just now. The two questions what we have worked out, they are little different. See, the variable cost per unit remains the same. So that is one point what is clearly mentioned. The variable cost per unit is constant. So we can proceed further with finding out what is the variable cost per unit taking these two levels. So units and the cost. See, if it is at high level, and then if it is at low level. So these are two activity levels. At high level, we see the number of units of 40,000 and this is at 25,000. Costs are given as 194,000 and then this is 143,500. So now in this situation, find out what is the difference and then so this part is variable. So we can find out what is variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit is equal to 50,500 divided by 15,000. See, at the 35,000 units level, we see that the fixed cost has increased by 10,000. So this 194,000 is inclusive of that additional 10,000. So eliminating that 10,000, we see that the fixed cost should be at 184,000. So I'll write a note here. 184,000. 184,000 is eliminating the increase in fixed cost after 35,000 units level. After 35,000 units. So that part is adjusted. But if this 10,000 increase was not there, it would have been 184,000. So according to the high-low method, whatever was the variable cost per unit and fixed cost, which was assumed to be as the same, those things are taken. Of course, in between, we saw that there was some impact of price rise, and that has resulted in the increase in fixed cost by 10,000. So we have eliminated that and taken the other costs for estimation of variable cost. So once variable cost per unit of 2.7 as is calculated, then we should proceed further to estimate the other activity level. So select any level, since at 25,000 there is no additional cost. So let's select at 25,000 units. We see total cost is equal to 143,500. Then less variable cost. Now variable cost would be 25,000 into 2.7. So here it is equal to 25,000 into 2.7. So we got it as, so this becomes fixed cost. So fixed cost is equal to after we get that fixed cost, then now we have to estimate what is the um, total fixed cost for an output level at 36,000. We are not asked to calculate the total cost at 36,000 units, but we are just asked to find out what is the fixed cost. Even if we have to find out, the 36 is after this 35,000. From 35,000, we see that the fixed cost has increased by 10,000, but fixed cost rise by 10,000 when output exceeds 35,000. So 36,000 is after 35,000. Therefore, now otherwise the fixed cost is only 76,000. Now the fixed cost would be 76,000 plus 10,000. So at 36,000 units, fixed cost is equal to 76,000 plus 10,000, which is equal to 86,000. There are one or two more questions also based on inflation. Let's quickly work it out. Question number 144. We'll work it out 144, which is similar to this particular issue. See, for some other college, I have taken the same paper. And then we have the time which was allotted to that particular college. They had much more time than what is allotted to you. So what we have done for that college, I have worked out every single numerical which is there in the exam kit. So all the recordings are also available. So I still have to share these recordings with them. Along with that, I will also share those recordings with you. Okay, you can also go through that. So even if you feel that any question is not answered and then you want those questions to be answered, or you want to follow, so I will share those recordings with you. Somebody please put the um, any mail ID or mail IDs what where you want me to send these recordings. Please share that in the chat box, or I have shared my number with you. You send a WhatsApp message to me. Anyway, it's fine. We'll work out question number 144. A company is estimating its cost based on past information. The total cost incurred by the company at different levels of output were given. The company uses the high-low method to separate total cost into their fixed and variable elements, ignore inflation. Um, the company has now established that there is a stepped increase in fixed cost of 30,000 when output reaches 180,000. So here there are three levels given, but then we would be taking only two levels. That is, um, so the lowest level is at 160. Then in between we have also 185, um, and the highest is 190. So the question would go ahead. We would go ahead with working out the problem, taking 190 and 160. But halfway through, somewhere after it reaches 180,000, the fixed cost has increased by 30,000. So that adjustment has to be made, and the rest of the question would follow that way. So there is an increase in fixed cost by 30,000. So that adjustment we need to make. So let's start working out this particular question. Um, See, after it has crossed 180, the fixed cost of 30,000 was added. Now at 160,000, the fixed cost included in the total cost is the same. So there's no change in that. So let's start with the number of units and the cost. So units are the high level is 190,000 and the low level is 160,000. Here Here the cost is, its actual cost is given as 2,840,000, but that would be after including 30,000. So that 30,000 has to be eliminated first. So the cost would be 2,810,000. After eliminating the increase in fixed cost of 30,000. Then we have at 160,000, the costs are 2,420,000. Done. So find out the difference between these two levels. So variable cost per unit, we have 390,000 divided by 30,000, which is equal to 13 per unit. After that, now we have to estimate what is the total cost. In the previous question, we have estimated only the fixed cost. Now we have to estimate the total cost at an output level of 175,000. But first for that we need to also find out what is the fixed cost. So let's start with the lowest level at 160,000 units level. Total cost we got it as 2,420,000. Variable cost, we have the variable cost as 160,000 into 3 and 13 sorry, into 13. Fixed cost,
Excuse me, ma'am, it's a dot. It's not.
I know, even I realized. Um, okay, so fixed cost is 340,000. Now we need to estimate the cost, total cost at 175,000. So at 175,000, see, fixed cost is 340,000 until it is 180. But it crosses once it crosses 180,000, it has increased by 30,000. So that is what we observe. Total cost at 175,000 units. So first find out what is variable cost. Variable cost would be, we got it as 13. So 175,000 units into 13. Then we have fixed cost. Fixed cost is given, fixed cost is calculated as, how much is that? 340,000, isn't it? 340,000 changes only after 180,000 units. So find out what's the total. The total cost is. So total cost is equal to 2,615,000. So that's how we have to check at what level. So let's suppose if this is given as 185,000. So 185,000, a similar pattern we will be doing that, but the fixed cost will not be 340,000. It would be 370,000. So that's the only point what we have to remember and include it accordingly. So from 180,000 units onwards, fixed cost will be a different figure. It will increase by whatever is the amount which is mentioned. But 175,000 was before 180,000. So we don't add that 30,000 and then just take as it is whatever is that 340,000. Now we'll see the next. We were in PPT. No? So the next technique, forecasting technique, is time series analysis. It says steps in analyzing time series with seasonal trends, identifying any underlying historical trend and measuring it, forecast trend into the future, then identify any seasonal variations around trend and measure them, apply seasonal variations to trend line to forecast seasonal uh, season by season. What are the definitions? What does it mean by what is trend? The first thing, see, a time period is taken into consideration. So the past periods, the time period, and the variable, how it has performed, how it behaved over a period of time is observed. So steps in analyzing time series with seasonal trends is, so if there are any I mean, if there is a particular pattern during that time period, how did it behave? Whether there was an increase there, whether there was a decrease, or any particular pattern, structure, trend, style, structure. So all those things are identified. So first thing is it is identified about the trend. Once the trend is identified, it is measured, then this trend is extended into the future. So let's say, for example, if they observe that the trend is about a particular pattern, when we plot it, it may look like that it is increasing. So this is the current period. So until the current period, we understand the graph has come till this point. For example, if it is an increasing trend, so, but if it has to be forecasted for the next period, so next period is somewhere here. So if the next period is here, this same trend is extended further, and that will become the estimated uh, value of that particular variable. So the estimations will be taking place by extending the trend into the future. Then identify any seasonal variations around trend, measure them, apply the seasonal variations to trend line to forecast season by season. So it's not only that the trend is measured, but then we that is also applied to any, if at all, if there is any seasonal variation. What are the definitions? A trend is a underlying long-term movement of data and maybe upwards, downwards, or flat. Any particular pattern. I just gave you an example that it is upward moving. It could be upward moving, downward moving. Sometimes there may be no particular pattern, no particular trend also. That is also a possibility. So upward moving, downward moving, or a flat thing. So some trend can be understood. So it is not that perfect straight line would be there, but more or less covering more or less the pattern. The pattern, it could be little scattered, but if it is even in a scattered manner, that is, let's say the data points are somewhere here, we see one variable is here, something which goes above that, and then suddenly we see that something which, so on an average, if at all, if we have to plot the graph considering all these things, the pattern is it is even if it is not in a straight line, we see that there is an upward moving trend. So we um, I mean, fit a line which is assumed to be as a good trend line, which can be fitted taking into consideration all the data points. It may not, the line may not pass through all the data points perfectly, and we cannot say that it is perfect straight line. It may not be, but considering most of the data points, if a line is drawn, so that is a trend. Then seasonal variations are short-term variations in the measured values of the time series above or below the trend line due to seasonal factors. Vary according to the type of industry. So not every business is a seasonal business, but according to that, the changes are made. So what are the components of a time series? First one, there should be a trend. Then second one is seasonal variation. Third is cyclical variation, depending on the cycles in the economy at that point of time, whether there is a recession, boom, or anything like that. The cyclical variations are taken into consideration. Any residual variation is R. There are two methods which are used in case of time series analysis for estimating the value for the future. That is additive model. Prediction or estimation is equal to whatever is the trend. First trend is measured plus the seasonal variation or into the seasonal variation. So that would be mentioned in the question whether it is an additive model or a multiplicative model. So that is about the adjustment which is made to the trend. So the trend, when it is extended into the future, the trend in the same pattern, it would be extended, but some adjustments also will be made, that those are called as incremental changes. See, that whatever happened in the past, it may not exactly happen in the future as well. Future may have certain changes also. So those seasonal variations which have to be accommodated. So to the trend, either the seasonal variations are added or they are multiplied. So that adjustment has to be made when the forecast is taken up for the future. Of course, we have another, the third method is linear regression. So in a sequence, we will keep solving. Linear relationship is given as y is equal to a plus bx. So using this equation, we can also take up the estimation of the future costs. So y is equal to a plus bx. It is more or less similar to the semi-variable cost estimation with the help of Hilo method, but this is in an equation form. The relationship is a linear relationship. So linear regression used for forecast for budgeting purposes in India, time series and trend line as an alternative to moving averages. Total cost. Now this Y represents the total cost. Total cost is equal to, if the total cost can be estimated with the help of this equation A plus BX, wherein A is taken as what is fixed cost plus BX is given as what is variable cost. Fixed cost plus the variable cost, because x is a variable, x is taken to be as the number of units, so the variable cost keeps varying by the variable cost per unit. So a and b are constants. A is a constant which is fixed cost, b is also a constant which is variable cost per unit. Every single unit, the cost per unit, variable cost per unit would be the same, so they both are constants. X is a variable which indicates the activity level. So at a given activity level, what is the amount of total cost can be estimated with the help of a linear equation, which is y is equal to a plus bx. So with the help of this equation also, cost can be estimated. Okay. So how to calculate what is A? A, there is a formula given. B also there is a formula given. So A is equal to y bar minus bx bar is equal to, this is the statistical method of arriving at what is A and B. Of course, we do not have that finding out about what is the value of A and B. It would be provided to us in the question about what is the value of A and B, and then we can take it up to estimate it for the future. What are the advantages and disadvantages of time series analysis? Advantages, they are forecast based on clearly understood assumptions. Reliability of forecast can be assessed on each successive period finishes. Forecasting accuracy improves with experience. Disadvantages are they assumes what has happened in the past is a reliable guide to happen in the future as well, but which is not the truth. Then assumption that a straight line trend exists. It is not, most of the time it is not a straight line. It lies in that particular path, and then we try to fit a good line. Then assumption that seasonal variations are constant. Seasonal variations also keep changing, but what are we doing is we are making adjustments of seasonal variations. Okay. Then we see what are the advantages and disadvantages of linear regression. Linear regression is by with the help of that equation y is equal to a plus bx. So here advantages are commonly used technique. Most commonly, this equation is used to estimate what is the total cost. Takes account of all data, mathematically accurate estimate of the trend. But disadvantages are assumes what has happened in the past. It would happen in the future, assumes the relationship is linear, the data must be strongly correlated. So there should be a relationship which exists between the two variables. Now, if we are using y is an independent variable, sorry, y is a dependent variable on the independent variable x. X is not dependent on y, x is an independent variable, but y is strongly dependent on X, because once the number of units are known, the total cost can be calculated. So first thing is there should be a relationship which exists between these two variables y and x. Then only it becomes possible to use this um, linear regression method. So what we'll do is we'll go to the examination kit, pick out these questions based on these two techniques, and solve them. When is the last class for you? In between those adjustments of I don't know why you were not there on Thursday Thursday, Friday. Sometimes you people were not there. You didn't even inform me that you will not be present for the class. I was waiting, and then after a very long time, I left. Monday also the same story happened, but after 1 hour, with the intervention of your faculty, we again got connected. So a lot of time got wasted. So that point, 133 is high-low method. So let's not do 133. We'll do some other question. Let's work out 134. So I'm getting this question number 134 to the Excel sheet. Um, what is 18th? 18th is the last day to done. These classes which you have missed, will they be adjusted or not? Tomorrow is a holiday for you. Okay. So first, I mean, today, so anyway, we will work out only the forecasting techniques questions. All of them we will work out. Then, day after tomorrow, you will again come for the class. So on that day, I will take up the next one, decision analysis. We have next topic. So first, let's finish off as much theoretical concepts content. I have no idea about that HM. So see, if you would have informed us beforehand, some adjustment will definitely be always accommodate the students. But then without informing, if you are not present there, what is that we have to do? I have absolutely no clue. So if it is adjusted, um, those days we will work out additional numerical questions. But until then, we will move from one topic to another and then finish the content. But if at all, if there are any extra days which are provided for whatever was missed, um, some more numerical questions will do. But otherwise, I will finish all the topics in the syllabus. Done. Question number 134 on the screen. I hope you are able to see Excel sheet only. Done. So the question says that a company is estimating future sales using time series analysis. The following trend equation has been derived from the sales data for year 1. Y is equal to 22,000 plus 800x. Y is the total sales units for the quarter and x is the time period. Quarter 1 of year 1 is time period 1. So here the estimations are given. The following set of seasonal variations have been derived based on year 1 actual sales. So year quarter 1 is minus 7080, quarter 2 is minus 2360, quarter 3 we see that there are set of seasonal variations which are mentioned there. What would be the forecast sales for the amount of seasonal variations for year 2 quarter 3? So for each of the time period, there are numbers which are allotted. It says that X is the time period. In this equation, Y is equal to 22,000 plus 800X. X represents the time period. Fine. This time period, the values are given. The values are for first year 1, quarter 1, it is 1. Year 1, quarter 2, it will be 2, 3, 4, so on. Now we have to estimate the value for year 2, quarter 3. Done. That will be the number. Now, with this information, what would be the forecast sales for the amount of the seasonal variation for year 2, quarter 3? The equation is given as y is equal to 22,000 plus 800x. X represents the time period. So if we just have to substitute the x value so that the total sales value can be calculated. There are numerical values which are assigned. See, if it is year one, then we have quarter one. Quarter one, the value assigned is 1. See, till quarter 4 it would be 2. Then we have year 2. Then for year 2, a similar thing, that is so year 2 quarter 3 has a value of 7. Do you see that? Year 2 quarter 3, x value of x will be 7. So take that 7, substitute in this equation, as simple as that. So if we are forecasting the sales value, now sales value is represented by a variable called as y. Y is equal to 22,000 plus 800x. In place of x, x represents the time period. The time periods are allotted numbers. So year 1, quarter 1 has a value 1. Year 1, quarter 2 will have a value 2, 3, 4, so on. So when we move till year 2, quarter 3, the value of x takes the place of 7. So using that, so y is equal to 22,000 plus 800 into 7. That's it. So how much would that be? So it will be 27,600. Now the adjustment of seasonal variation has to be made. So if there is if it is quarter 1, adjustment of minus 7080, quarter 2 something, quarter 3 it is plus 7080. So now the value will be y is equal to 27,600 plus the seasonal variation, adjustment of the seasonal variation, which is an additive model. 7080 has to be adjusted. So y is equal to how much? 27 plus 7 is 34. 34,068. The overhead costs of RP have been found to be accurately represented by the formula y is equal to 10,000 plus 0.25x, where y is the monthly cost and x represents the activity level measured as the number of orders. Monthly activity levels of orders may be estimated using a combined regression analysis and time series model. A is equal to 10, 100,000 plus 30B, where A represents the deseasonalized monthly activity level and B represents the month number. In month 240, the seasonal index value is 108. The overhead cost per RP um, for month 240 is how much? So let's work it out. Question number 138. Y is equal to 10,000 plus 0.25. 0.25 x. X represents the activity level measured as the number of orders. Number of orders. X represents the number of orders. Monthly activity level of orders may be estimated using a combined regression analysis and time series model. So we have A is equal to this thing. Let's write. Monthly activity levels of orders may be estimated using a combined regression analysis and time series model. Um, A represents the deseasonalized monthly activity level and B represents the month number. B is the number of that month, and for that month A represents, it says that A represents the deseasonalized monthly activity. So monthly activity level is represented by A. A is the total of 100,000 plus. Um, this is the month number. We have seen in the previous example how do we substitute. So whatever is the month number, take that into multiply into 30. But then what is that 30? So if we are talking about the activity level, the total activity level for each of this month keeps changing. For each of the month when it keeps changing, activity is about, in this business we see that the activity level is measured as a number of orders. So here in this case, this part of this equation talks about 30B, talks about what is the activity level into the month number. The month, whichever month B represents, that into the number of orders. So basically we see that it is the number of orders. X also represents the activity level measured as the number of orders. So here we have to substitute what is the value of X. After we substitute what is the value of X, then we proceed further. So um, there are two things which are included into this particular question. I don't know whether this is the right question which has to be taken up, because we have to adjust the time series. We also have to adjust the seasonal variation. Both of them have to be. Then the first equation given is a linear equation. So a combination of multiple things are included in that. Y is equal to 10,000 plus 0.25 x. X again represents the number of orders. But then how do we identify what are the number of orders? We have another equation given which is equal to A is equal to 100,000 plus 30B. 100,000 plus 30B, B represents the month number. So the total activity level is calculated by A. Now out of that 100,000 is already a fixed amount plus 30 orders into the month number. Now if that is the case, um, if we have to find out what are the A is equal to 100,000 plus 30 B. B is the month number. What is B given in this particular question? What is B? What is B? 240. Done. So, what is A? A is representing activity level of orders. So, number of orders. We can take it as number of orders is equal to we have it as 100,000 plus then 30 into B is the number, month number, which is 240. So, this entire thing now subject to adjustment, the seasonal index. In month 240, the seasonal index value is 108. So, there is also an adjustment of seasonal index 108. So, the base index is always taken as 100. So, uh, whatever is the value in the initial, the first month, so the base month has a value of 100. Now it has come up to 108 in month month 240. The index value has come up to 108. So we need to make the adjustment as this number into this particular number of orders into 108 by 100. So rather we put it as into 1.08. Tell me how much is this one? Okay. Now 115,776. So then the first linear equation which is given y is equal to monthly cost. The monthly cost has to be estimated. Monthly cost is 10,000 fixed cost plus 0.25 variable cost into the number of orders. Now we see the number of orders stand at 115,776. So then take that 115,776 and substitute in this equation to find out what is the total cost. So this is total cost. So um, total cost y is equal to 10,000 plus 0.25 into 115,776 is equal to Okay, nearest 1,000. Okay, okay. I didn't see that. So, or it would be close to 38.9, and so 39,000. That's right. $39,000 dollars. That's the total cost. Question number 139. Monthly sales of product R follow a linear trend. Y is equal to 9.72 plus 5.816x, where Y is the number of units sold and X is the number of the month. Monthly deviations from the trend follow an additive model. The forecast number of units of R to be sold in month 23, which has a seasonal factor of plus 6.5 to the nearest whole value. So let's start month 39. Y is equal to 9.72 plus forecast the number of products are to be sold. Okay. In month 23, 23rd month. Um, okay, good. How did you get that? Put the answer also in the chat box. We just have to substitute the value of x. X is represents the month. Um, X is the number of month. The number is already given to us as 23. So we just have to substitute 23 in place of X. So 9.72 plus 5.816 into 23. Then there is an this is an additive model wherein the seasonal adjustment has to be adjusted, and the seasonal adjustment is given as plus 6.5. So let's put this one. Y is equal to 9.72 plus 5.816 into 23. After that, we have to adjust plus a seasonal variation of 6.5. So now we see y is equal to this plus 6.5, which is round it off, it is 150. One 41 is high-low method. Um, but there is a price adjustment also included in this one. Let's take question number 141 and work it out here. A company is preparing its maintenance budget. The number of machine hours and the maintenance cost for the past 6 months have been as follows. We have month 1 to 6 machine hours are given and the cost is also given. The budget cost allowance for an activity level of 9,340 machine hours before any adjustment for price changes is nearest to. So question number 141. First identify what is the high, what is the low, and but no price adjustment is made. No, there is no before any adjustment for price changes. I'll just identify that you can work it out. 141 We just have to identify which one is a high. High is at which one? For which month? Second month, which is 12,212. Fifth one. Fifth is low. So basic, first the Meshnars, then we have cost, so to begin with we start with high, then low. High starts at 12,212 and the cost is 39,477. Then low is 8,480, 8,480 and the amount is 31,080. So I think you can find out and proceed further. So we'll take up the next question. It is we've already worked out few questions, so you can take it up and then work it out. Question number 142 on the screen. A company is preparing its annual budget and is estimating the number of units of product A that it will sell in each quarter of year 2. Past experience has shown that the trend for sales of the product is represented by the following relationship. Y is equal to A plus BX where Y is equal to number of sales units in the quarter, A is equal to 10,000 units, B is equal to 3,000 units. That's it. We just have to substitute X is the quarter number where 1 is equal to quarter 1 of year 1 and for which quarter are we estimating? Quarter 3 of year 2. It's, a similar one is already we have solved. So we take up another question. Is there some adjustment in that? The variations are plus. If minus sign is not there, all of them would be plus only. A company is preparing its annual budget and is estimating the number of units of product A that it will sell in each quarter of year 2. Past experience has shown that the trend for sales of the product is represented by the following relationship. Y is equal to A plus BX where Y is equal to number of sales units in quarter. A is 10,000 units, B is 3,000 units. Variation is not given. We have to find out what is variation. These are actual sales. These are not variations. These are actual sales. Okay. The earlier question what we have done, which looks similar, has the variation already mentioned. The following set of seasonal variations are given. These are variations, but the figures what we have given in this particular question are actual sales. So they both are look similar but not actually similar. So we have to find out what is the variation. What is variation basically? The difference between the expected and the actual is the variance, isn't it? So let's first find out what are the seasonal variances. Then only we will be able to find out after adjusting for seasonal variation, what is the expected sales of product A for quarter 3 of year 2. So we need to find out what are the seasonal variations. Um, there are 4 quarters which are given. For 4 quarters, we have what are the actual sales. So quarter, 1 second. Okay, so here the quarters are given as 1, 2, 3, 4. And after the quarters, we have the actual sales given. Actual sales are 14,000, then 18,000, then we see again 18,000, then the 4th quarter we have just 20,000. These are actual sales, but then budgeted sales or the estimated sales also would be there. The estimations are given by an equation y is equal to a plus bx. So let's find out what is estimated sales. Estimated sales is equal to they are given as a plus bx 10,000 plus 3,000 into quarter 1 is equal to 1. So here it will be 10,000 plus 3,000 into 1. For the 2nd quarter, it is 10,000 plus 3,000 into 2. So we see that it is 16,000. Then similarly for the 3rd and 4th quarters also, we have to do it like that. So let me put this down here. So estimated sales are there. Now we have to find out what are the variations. Variations are, see, always the estimated sales are budgeted. So in case of sales, the actual sales should be more than the estimated sales. If it is a revenue aspect of it, the sales aspect of it, the actual should exceed the estimated. But in case of cost, the estimated should be more than actual. Actual should always be less than the estimated. So now the variation, the difference between these two has to be calculated. In that case, estimated sales are 13,000, the actual sales are 14,000. So um, they have done better than the estimated. So the variance has to be calculated. The variance would be 14,000 minus the actual minus estimated. So like that, find out what is the variance for all the 4 quarters. Once the variance is there, then the rest of it again would be like the similar question. So we have the variation, that final variation has to be adjusted. For after adjusting for seasonal variations, the expected sales of product A for quarter 3 of year 2. Quarter 3 of year 2 will have a number 7, no? Okay, 5, 6, 7. So um, year 1, this is year 1, year 2, 5, 6, 7. So it is 7. Now we have to substitute that 7 in that particular equation. So what's the equation? We have 10,000 plus 3,000 into the way we have calculated estimated sales. Let's calculate estimated sales for year 2 quarter 3. So y is equal to 10,000 plus b is 3,000 into 7. The entire equation is adjusted with the seasonal uh, quarter 3 is the variance is minus 1,000. These are the variation or variances. But if it is quarter 3 variation is minus 1,000. So that has to be adjusted here, minus 1,000. So check that y is equal to okay. So y is equal to 30,000. Then we have question number 143. The following budgeted information comes from the accounting records of Ross. Production units are given 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. There are certain costs which are given: material, labor, overhead, distribution cost. Total cost is given. What would be the budgeted cost for 2,750 units? So this is also called as flexible budgeting. This is how flexible budgets are prepared. 3 different activity levels are given. Then we are asked to find out what is the cost at 2,750. Done. Um, we do not know whether these costs are variable, fixed, or semi-variable costs. So by nature, material and labor are always variable in nature. So otherwise also we still can find out from the data. The definition of variable cost is a cost which varies proportionately. So we have to put it to test. See if material cost at 1,000 units, if it is 15,000, at 2,000 units, how much should it be? So when we calculate that, it comes out to be as 30,000. So this is variable, but otherwise also we understand material and labor costs are variable costs. So in case if suppose these are not the terms and some other terms are given, then also how do we find out? So we find out whether they are proportional or not. So uh, for those of you who have to understand, I'll just put it here. 143, question number 143. If we are taking material, it could be with anything. See, for 1000 units, if the cost is 15,000, then at 2000 units, how much should be the cost is what has to be calculated. So 2000 into 15. So here we calculate it is equal to 2000. We calculate it as 2000 into 15,000 divided by 1000 gives us what is the cost, which is 30,000, and that is 30,000. So that is variable in nature. So this is a variable cost. Similarly, we see that with the labor cost also, labor for 1000 it is 10,000, so 2000 it should be 20,000 and it is 20,000. So that is also variable cost. Then overhead cost 1000 if it is 18, 2000 it should be 36, but it is not 36. Okay, so that becomes a semi-variable cost. Distribution cost for all the levels it is same, so it is a fixed cost. Fine. Now, the issue with variable cost is variable cost can be proportionately calculated. Fixed cost will remain same. The only issue is with the semi-variable cost. So, semi-variable cost, the way we have calculated, we have to calculate it now also. Overhead cost is a semi-variable cost. Okay. Overhead cost is a semi-variable cost. We already know how do we calculate the semi-variable cost. So, using high-low method, we have units, then we have cost. So proceed further. So they at a high level is 3,000. The cost is 26,000. Low level is at 1,000. Then cost is 18,000. Okay, B is the answer. So rest of it you can proceed further. Can you? So 144 is also high-low method only. I think so the other two questions are also high-low method only. So let's finish this one. Only 8 minutes time is there. To find out the difference. Difference is here it is 2000. Here it would be 8,000. So this is variable in nature. So we can find out what is variable cost per unit. We have it as 4 per unit. 4 per unit. After that, we have to find out what is the fixed cost. So select any level at 1,000 units. We have total cost is equal to total cost is given as 18,000. Then less variable cost. Variable cost is calculated as 1,000 into 4. So that comes out to be as 4,000. So the fixed cost is 14,000. Now the cost at 2,750 has to be known. Okay, so we have overhead cost at 2,750 units. First, let's find out what's the variable cost. Variable cost would be 2,750 into 4. Then fixed cost is 14,000. So add them up and then that becomes total cost. So just add it up. We have it as 25,000. After that, we have to prepare the total cost. See, what would be the budgeted cost for 2,750? So let's write budgeted cost at 2,750. Shall I put it here? Because another question can be fitted there. So I'm writing it here. Budgeted cost at 2,750 units. So what are the items we have? We have material cost, then we have labor cost, then we have production cost, and finally we have the distribution cost. Material cost can be proportionately calculated. See here, we see 1,000, it is 15,000, so 2,750 how much? So 2,750 is equal to 2,750 into 15,000 divided by 1,000. So that gives us the cost of material. Similarly, labor also is equal to 2,750 into 10,000 divided by 1,000. So that gives us the labor cost. Production cost just now we've calculated. No, overhead cost. I'm sorry, I didn't. So this is overhead cost, not production cost. Overhead cost comes out to be as 25,000 and distribution cost is 12,000. So add them up, all of them, just add it up, and then we have what is the total cost. So 105,750. So the total cost. Okay, so with this we'll end the forecasting techniques. Then tomorrow's class we will, tomorrow is a holiday, done. Um, decision making is a big topic only. See decision making, then risk and uncertainty. So these two are um, time taken topics only. So let's take it up. Friday we are meeting and then we'll start with decision making. We'll work out on decision making, then go to the other topic, and at the end, whatever is the time remaining, whichever topic you want me to work out the questions, we will work out the questions from that particular topic. Okay. I'll end the class here. Any doubts? Shall I end the class here? What happened? No response? Okay. Okay then. Good day.